Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. I'm Taffany, and I want to welcome you into my garden. This is Tika's Gardens, and today I'm going to kind of take you around and show you the few things that are doing well now that the heat has hit here in Spring, Texas. These are things that were planted back in March and were blooming for the most part when they were planted, and are still blooming now and are holding up very well in the heat. So I'm going to show you my best performers, or maybe they weren't blooming in March, they were small, but once they grew and started blooming, they have been blooming non-stop. So we're going to show you the best performers so far here in my garden in Spring, Texas. So we're going to start in the backyard and work our way up to the front. So let's get started. So the first thing on my list, even though it was not planted in March, it was planted in early May, is my Barbados cherry tree. Since it has been planted, it has had flowers non-stop, blooms everywhere, and I have literally been picking fruit every day. There's a couple cherries on here right now that can be picked, but there are flowers everywhere on this tree, and I really like it, and I like the taste of the fruit too. So I highly recommend the Barbados cherry, especially for anyone who lives in a climate like mine. I'm in zone 9B, so I can see this doing good. Since it's a tropical fruit, obviously it should do good in places like Florida, of course, here in this part of Texas, California, possibly Arizona, things like that. So if you're looking for a good cherry tree, I recommend the Barbados cherry. And even now there are flowers all over it. I mean, and the flowers are very cute little pink dainty flowers. So this has been a great performer so far in the time period that I have had it. So the other thing that has been a great performer while I'm still here in the bedroom garden are my red vincas. These vincas have been blooming since I planted them. They look very good, very healthy. They like this location. I think it's getting just the right amount of water and everything, just the right amount of sun. So if you're looking for something that can take the heat and full sun, vinca. This red vinca is so pretty, and it goes with the theme of my bedroom garden, which is red, and they've just been performing non-stop. Another great performer, my knockout roses. I planted these in the winter, and they had blooms in the winter. When the frost came, we had two frosts that came, one in January, one in February. They stayed green, but the blooms were obviously not there. But since March, there has been some kind of bloom on these knockout roses. I mean, pretty much ever since then. That goes for the red ones here and the pink ones, which I will show you over in the long border. So my knockout roses have performed very well for me. Before we head to the other part of the garden, I'm going to show you close up these great performers. You can see in there a cherry, and you can see that there are flowers everywhere. Beautiful tree. And as we come down, you can see there is at least a bud somewhere on every single vinca. And let's come around. You can see a couple of the knockout roses back there. Let's come around here. Trying to turn slowly so I don't make you dizzy, but you can see the blooms on this knockout rose in all different stages. You can see the other red vinca down there doing great. You can see the red blooms on this one. And let's go take a look at the pink knockout roses as well. All right, guys, This is one of the pink knockout roses. There's a second one over here. This particular pink one has really grown very well and has been blooming non-stop, just like the red. So this has proven to be a star in the garden. So guys, this, I would say, over everything in the garden has been number one. This is my African basil, and it smells so good. We cook with it all the time, but it has bloomed non-stop. Bees are covered over it during the day, but in the mornings at this kind of, this time of morning, it's perfect. The bees aren't out just yet, but this has blooms everywhere, both of them. So this has been probably the number one star performer in the garden, my African basil. And I want to give you a very good close-up look of all the spires or spikes on them. And yes, that is a habanero pepper plant in there, and I have picked a bunch of orange habaneros from it. There's a bunch of habaneros on the two in the back, so I have I have highly made a mistake in planting my habaneros with the African basil. I won't do that next season, but they are producing peppers. They're just kind of buried in there, but look at how massive these are. But they're fabulous. The other thing that has really performed well, they were blooming when I bought them back in March, and they have been blooming ever since, and that is the sun patience. All of the impatiens, the New Guinea impatiens, the traditional impatiens, and the sun patience, all are doing well. So we're going to take a look at all of those. But here are the sun patience. They're growing, they're mounding up well, and they have had blooms on them non-stop. So we're going to take a close-up look at these, and you can see we have a bud opening, and it looks like a little rose when it's getting ready to open. But these have been blooming non-stop. Here in the pot are the traditional impatiens, and even when your set of blooms are, fade away, you still have the newer ones that are opening up. So it is never completely without blooms. And it is doing very well. And it's so pretty too. All right, guys, we are here on the driveway, and we're going to head to the front garden. I'm going to show you the sun patiens here along the driveway and the New Guinea impatiens in the front garden. And you can see that they are blooming profusely. Very beautiful. So let me turn you around and we'll take a look at these sun patiens here on the driveway. So these are the orange sun patiens. They were blooming when we planted them in March, and they are still blooming now in June. They have not had a period without blooms. And let's take a look at the white sun patiens now. These are the white sun patiens. Look at how beautiful they look. These three on this end are bigger. They're closer to the sprinkler, so it seems like they're getting more water than these. I may have to substitute these with some hand watering, but look at how beautiful they look and how bright and crisp and how they light up this area. I think next season I'm going to do white where I have the orange so that the whole driveway has white. Very pretty. And they have been blooming also non-stop since March. We are starting to get blooms on our limelight hydrangea, and that kind of really looks good with that white impatient. So those are the sun patiens. Now let's walk around and take a look at the New Guinea impatiens. Again, planted in March and have been blooming non-stop. Look at those. Now, New Guinea impatiens, unlike your sun patiens, can grow in shade or part sun. So these, this climate, this condition, the conditions up here in the front garden are perfect for them. Let's go and take a look at the others. This side is more shade. And they are looking great. Even if it only has one open, they are non-stop bloomers. So my Superbena pink cashmere has been blooming since I transplanted them. Even when they were stressed, they were producing blooms. I trimmed them back heavily, and they are looking fabulous. So let me give you a close-up look at these Superbena pink cashmeres. Alright guys, these are the Superbena pink cashmeres. They went through a little stress period when I transplanted them from the backyard to the front, but in spite of that, they were still blooming. The blooms just kind of looked pale and whitish, but I pruned them heavily, and they are now beautiful. And this little baby are pieces that fell off when I was transplanting the other two, and so I put them all in their own hole, and they are now making a plant for themselves, and they have been blooming non-stop since they have grown. Very pretty. As you recall, I had 3 Superbena pink cashmeres in the backyard that I transplanted. I put the third one here, and I do want to get 2 more, one for there and one for this empty spot here, so that they can flank this corner and mimic what's going on the other side. But look at it, blooming non-stop since it's been here. These are workhorses, and I love them. Alright guys, well, those are the top performing flowers in the garden right now for the month of June. Well, not just the month of June, but the top performing flowers, those that have been blooming since I planted them. The majority were planted in March. You know, the impatiens, sun patiens, and New Guinea impatiens, and they have all been doing well. They were blooming when I planted them, and they have never stopped. The Barbados cherry has been performing fabulously, but the super bloomers outside of the impatiens are that African basil. Yes, you can cook with it, but it's also a wonderful plant if you just want to bring in the bees and all that, you know, into your garden. That both of those plants are covered in bees when they come out during the day. So those are my top performers in the garden for right now that have just been a workhorse for me. So I hope that is helpful for anyone who lives in a climate like mine, who's looking for something that can kind of take the heat and the cooler weathers and kind of withstand them both. These are the ones that have done it so far for me this year. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. Thank you for being in the garden with me today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.